Hey everyone, this video is about how depression and dysphoria derailed my plans and dreams for education and career and what I ended up doing instead. When I graduated from high school, I was dealing with some pretty bad depression and gender dysphoria. Religious boarding schools are extremely restrictive, and I didn't have the time, space, or freedom to explore my identity or pursue hobbies and interests. I still had the idea in my head that by focusing on my grades in high school, I would be able to get into a good university, and once I'm there, I should pursue a career in something that makes a lot of money regardless of whether or not I have a personal interest in it. In retrospect, the idea of pursuing something you don't care about because you think it will make money is absurd. But literally in my life, people had been pushing me down that path. So I got the good high school grades and I flew across the country to a good university where after a year of study, I had such bad mental health that I had to drop out. And at the time, that was my literal life plan, and it had just been derailed. All that time I spent enduring abuse in high school because I thought it was good for me, and that's what a good education is, and it would allow me to get good grades and go to a good university and be a good student. All of that was literally for nothing. But I couldn't just not spend the rest of my life not learning any marketable skill. So after working on my depression and gender dysphoria, I decided to actually pursue a dream for once. I always thought computers were so cool. And although I didn't get to study programming in high school because they didn't offer any courses on it, and I was too busy with schoolwork and church and sports and other extracurricular activities that I didn't care about to actually pursue any hobbies, my first personal choice for a career would be computer science or software engineering. I was like, hey, my first plan of getting a degree in something I don't care about was poorly constructed and poorly executed and poorly concluded. But I put in the time and effort, so might as well make the most of it to pursue something I actually do care about. So I applied to the local universities, and a few months later I got the bad news. Because I had already attended a university, I was technically a transfer student now. I wasn't just applying, I was applying to transfer. This means that only my post-secondary grades are considered on my application. And those grades were really bad from me having crippling mental health problems and needing to return home so I wouldn't kill myself. There are colleges where adults are able to retake high school courses to improve their grades for university applications. But those don't work for me because my high school grades are already excellent. It's just that they're no longer relevant to my application. And with that revelation, my personal dream had been derailed too. The only way I would have been able to get into a local university is if I traveled again to a university with lower standards, and then try to transfer after a couple years if my grades average out to be high enough. This was just at the start of my transition, and I was still dealing with the trauma from high school. Due to the complex medical needs of me being trans and my already strained mental health, I was not strong enough as a person to disconnect myself from the little support that I had to pursue what was very literally just a gamble. People often say that the difference between the upper, middle, and lower socioeconomic classes is the number of mistakes you can make before you permanently screw up your life. And in my case, I managed to screw myself out of attending university and pursuing a degree. It is literally one of the worst possible feelings when you finally develop enough sense of self to chase after a dream, only for you to discover that you missed your chance. Since I could no longer go to university and get a degree, I started applying to local colleges. And about a year into transition, I got into a game design program. Game design was certainly not computer science or software engineering, but I thought, hey, I like games. Games are pretty cool. And honestly, this was the closest that I was going to get to pursuing my original dream. I really struggled a lot in this program. It was so much work, and I was really hoping that it would pay off. But when I graduated, it became super obvious that my diploma would not be sufficient credentials to get an entry-level position. So I went back to school again, this time to study programming, and I got a job as a game developer, specifically in a technical role. I am honestly so lucky to have this position. The modern job market is super competitive, especially if you don't have any relevant work experience. Recently, a well-known game company posted a job listing for an entry-level design position, but the first requirement was 2 or more years of experience. Even someone like me who specifically went to school to study game design and has work experience in the game industry would not be a relevant applicant, because my work experience is as a developer, not a designer. For the record, I don't blame the company. Design positions are extremely rare, and they are certainly entitled to be picky and choosy with who they hire. I'm just pointing out that this is the norm, and this is sort of how our world works now. From what I've seen, recruiters don't care about student projects or any schoolwork you do aside from whether or not you completed the program. They're only looking for work experience and, in some cases, personal projects. But the difficulty with creating things on your own is that it's very difficult to know what to do and where to start. It is really difficult to create anything of professional quality if you don't have professional skill or experience. Very little of what I've learned is useful in the workplace, and about 80% of my skill set is stuff that I just learned from doing my job, not based on any sort of education or research or training. Honestly, I really sucked at programming when I first started. I had no talent in this, so I had to work so hard to reach my current level of expertise. Now I feel like I'm finally in a good position in life. Although I studied for 5 years and don't have a degree to show for it, and it took me so much longer than everyone else I know to get my foot in the door, I managed to achieve something that is actually kinda similar to my original dream. My responsibilities are the same as what a software engineer does in my company. I just don't get as much respect. Given how competitive the job market is and how post-secondary institutions literally pump out hundreds of people in every single field imaginable every year, I do get afraid of being out-credentialed someday. Regardless of how much I improve, I don't have a degree or engineering certification. And even just looking within the furry fandom, most multidisciplinary game designers or developers are also multi-skilled, being able to draw or model or animate or do some other visual skill. Well, the only thing I can do professionally right now is code. I tried learning to draw, and I thought about doing some book learning to expand my technical knowledge. But instead, I decided to start this YouTube channel. Instead of worrying about my future, I'd rather spend my time helping people in the present. And it brings me so much joy, so much profound joy that people are enjoying my videos. Like, seriously, no joke, you're all amazing. But honestly, if I do end up being unable to find work sometime in the future, I think I'm just gonna make my own game. I totally have the skill to do that now. My takeaway from this video is to do what you love, not what people tell you. Do what you want to do, and preferably start at a young age if possible, so that you don't have a hard time later on like I did. People say that it's never too late to pursue a dream, but honestly sometimes things just don't work out, or they're just prohibitively expensive or unrealistic. And if you end up missing out on a dream like I did, just try to make the most out of what you have and what you're able to do now. It may not be what you originally wanted, but there is still value and happiness to be found in the world. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you also had a bad time pursuing an education or career. Hope to see you around. Bye!